Story number 36, Camp Townsend. In the fictional country of Spyro, there is an awesome Christian campsite called the Camp Townsend, which is located in the town of Townsend, Autumn. The country of Spyro has a land area of 1,115,068 square kilometers. Despite the large size of the country only has a population of 8 million people. This is because 95% of the country are just forests and mountains, and it's not really possible to build a lot of towns, let alone cities, in those areas. The cool benefit that comes from this is that no matter what town or city people visit within Spyro, they always have a beautiful view of the mountains and forests. Spyro only has 5 provinces, one of which is their nation's capital, and the other 4 were each named after the 4 seasons. Their provinces are spring, summer, autumn, winter, and the nation's capital, which is Evergreen. The city of Evergreen, Spyro, borders all of the other 4 provinces. The people who are from Spyro are called Spyroians. The Spyroians don't have a high-carb staple in their diets, as their biggest dietary staples are fish, wild game, nut flowers, nuts, animal fats, and apples. These Spyroians eat diets that are 60% fat, 25% protein, and 15% carbs. Because these Spyroians eat diets that are high in fat, low in carbs, and on average consume 25 to 30 grams of fiber each day, they only eat 2 meals each day, which are called brunch and dinner, because of the satiety of the foods they eat. Spyro only has 7 cities in the entire country, as all the other places are either towns, villages, rural communities, or off-the-grid communes. 80% of Spyro's population are professing Christians, but it is unknown how many of them are truly born again. The largest denomination in Spyro is almost a two-way tie between the Lutheran denomination and the Reformed denomination, as both denominations combined make up 60% of the country's professing Christian population. The Lutheran denomination takes the cake here, as the Lutheran denomination makes up 32% of the country's professing Christian population, while the Reformed denomination makes up 28% of the country's professing Christian population. Spyro's national birthday is called Spyro Day, which is on February 29th, as the country was founded on Tuesday, February 29th, 1620 AD. Since Spyro Day is on the day that only comes once every 4 years, Spyro Day is on March 1st in non-leap years. For example, Spyro had their semi-centennial on March 1st, 1670 AD, and then had their centennial on February 29th, 1720 AD. Spyro began using the Gregorian calendar in March of 1700 AD. The year is 2308 AD, and a 45-year-old man named John Starbuck owned a campsite named Camp Townsend, which is located in the medium town of Townsend, Autumn. The campsite was first opened in April of 2285 AD. Youth groups are able to schedule youth retreats there, and people can also schedule personal retreats there as well. Since the campsite has 5 lodges, a person's personal retreat can easily overlap with a youth group's youth retreats. There just can't be more than 5 bookings happening at the same time. At Townsend Lutheran Church, The pastor is Tyler Randall, and the youth pastor there is Garrett Hayes. In February of 2300 AD, Garrett was planning the youth retreat for the whole youth group to attend, and the cost to attend is $250 per member. Then siblings have a 10% discount when 2 or more are attending. The date range for the youth retreat was set to be from Thursday, July 9th through Monday, July 13th. The youth retreat is taking place at Camp Townsend. On Saturday, February 29th, it was Spyro Day. Garrett embarked on a trip to the mountains with his friends to spend the day there. They went to Boiler National Park, which is a national park located in Townsend's Autumn. Garrett and his friends were spending the whole day there. They arrived at around 10 in the morning. Garrett's friends are Troy, James, Lisa, Nancy, Harold, Eric, and Amelia. They enjoyed a wonderful picnic at noon in the picnic zone of the park. They enjoyed delicious BLT sandwiches made with coconut flour bread, with a side of an apple and some grass-fed beef jerky. After the picnic, the whole clique went hiking up the Boiler Mountains on the Great Deer Trail. Camp Townsend is actually located next to the Boiler National Park. In the middle of the hike, Garrett and his friends reached the peak of the Boiler Mountains, which are around 4,000 meters above sea level, and the views from the peak were drop-dead gorgeous. They all loved the stunning views of the Great Boiler Mountains. Their favorite thing about Spyro is that the country has plenty of beautiful mountain views just about anywhere you go in the nation. As the mountainous landscape makes up about 60% of the country's lands, and then the remaining 40% are forests, and then there's the beaches along the coastline. Garrett talks with his friends about how the views of God's creation are some of the most stunning views ever. Long story short, they all agreed. The hike was divided in between hiking the trails and taking rides in Mountain Express cars. As they hiked down to the base of the Boiler Mountains, they remained in awe of the drop-dead gorgeous views of the Boiler Mountains. Boiler National Park is one of the 128 national parks that are located in the country. This means that Spyro has more national parks than there are cities, towns, and villages combined. The large amount of national parks the country has explains the reason why national parks in Spyro are free to go to. One fun fact is that in the country of Spyro, people are never more than a 30-minute drive away from the nearest national park, which allows people to be able to go to national parks on a regular basis. Then a little more than 4 months later, on Thursday, July 9th, Garrett loaded the youth group members onto the shuttle bus that was set to take them to Camp Townsend. At 1 p.m., they arrived at Camp Townsend and went into Lodge 2. The male's sleep room was to the right, and the female's sleep room was to the left. The youth leaders for the retreat was Garrett and his girlfriend Amelia. The retreat was filled with fun activities, and everyone at the retreat ate brunch at 11 a.m. and dinner at 6 p.m. There were also snacks that were on a snack table that the youth group members could eat if they wanted a snack. The first camp activity was a race across a flat hiking trail, which was called the Ballaster Trail. The Ballaster Trail was often called a flat trail because the trail doesn't go up any mountains and only has small hills. There was the boys' race and the girls' race. There were 2 races that took place to bring forth a fair outcome. Garrett didn't have the entire youth group race together because he knew that if they did that, then the boys would have a much better chance of being in the top 3 podium than the girls do, since the boys physically have more strength than the girls. Likewise, the race was split into two races, one for the boys and the other for the girls, to get a fair outcome. On the morning of Friday, July 10th, Garrett delivered a teaching where he exposed a false teacher named Benny Ortega, who is a disgraced pastor who disqualified himself from ministry by killing 3 horses on purpose with an AK-47 for sports, and by preaching heresies. Garrett warned about how Benny Ortega preaches the prosperity gospel heresy, and also preaches the heresies of egalitarianism and Arianism as well. At the end of the teaching, Garrett shared about the importance of using discernment and selecting preachers to listen to. Later that day was the game of freeze tag, which was a game that was totally chaotic, as members often got tagged quickly due to using lame strategies to avoid getting tagged. On the night of Saturday, July 11th, the whole youth group went to the campfire to enjoy some delicious low-carb s'mores, and had fun stargazing. It was a sunny, clear night. The group couldn't go stargazing the night before because it was cloudy. On the afternoon of Sunday, July 12th, there was the fun game of canoe racing that took place after brunch, which, by the way, took place after the Sunday morning sermon. The race was unique as people raced in fours, with 2 boys and 2 girls being on each canoe. The members in the green canoe won the race. Through the retreat, the youth enjoyed activities like swimming, hiking, fishing, and pool volleyball. On Monday, July 13th at 2 p.m., the youth group boarded the shuttle bus to head back to Townsend Lutheran Church, and the whole youth group enjoyed the awesome youth retreats.